The young man did not know how to answer. He did not need anything. His father can afford to buy anything he wanted, but he did not need anything. He needed one thing, the presence of his father. From time to time, his father is there at home, but his mind is not with his body. So the young man has the impression that he does not really have a father. So after some reflection, he said, "Daddy, it's you that I want." And if the father knows the practice of mindful breathing, he will begin to breathe in mindfully. And it takes only 3 seconds for him to be there, body and mind together. And looking into the eyes of his son, he said, "Darling, I'm here for you." It's very easy. Everyone can do that. To me, to love means to be there for your beloved one. And to be there, for me, is not a willing intention, a desire. That is a practice. In order to be there, you need to breathe in mindfully and bring your mind home to your body. Or you might like to practice walking meditation, mindful walking. While breathing in, you make 1 step or 2 steps, and you become aware of the step you make. You are touching life in the present moment with your foot. 1 step alone can bring you home to the here and the now and be fully present in the here and the now. There are many ways of practice that can help bring our mind home to our body so that we can be established in the here and the now. When you breathe in mindfully and look at the flower like this one, you have an opportunity to get in touch with this flower deeply. We are mindful that the flower is there. Mindfulness is the kind of energy that allows us to know what is there, what is happening in the here and the now. When you practice mindful breathing, the object of your mindfulness is your in-breath. Your in-breath is something that is happening in the here and the now. And you may enjoy your in-breath also. When you breathe in and using the energy of mindfulness generated by your in-breath, you can recognize that flower as existing. And you get in touch with that flower. And if your mindfulness is strong enough, powerful enough, you are concentrated on the flower, and you get the insight that that flower is a wonder. A wonder. And you may see that the flower belongs to the kingdom of God or the pure land of the Buddha. And when you get in touch with the flower, you get in touch with the kingdom of God, and you get in touch with God. Because God is always with his kingdom. And you may get the insight that the kingdom of God is available in the here and the now. You don't have to go and look for it in the future or somewhere else. You don't need to die in order to go to the kingdom. In fact, you have to be very alive in order to do so. And to be alive, to be fully present in the here and now, you need only to breathe in mindfully. And it takes 2 or 3 seconds. So the kingdom of God is available to you because you have the power, the capacity of being mindful. And the insight you get is the kingdom is available in the here and the now. And you would like to make yourself available to the kingdom. And to make yourself available to the kingdom, that can be done very quickly. Just breathe in mindfully, or making a step mindfully. And then when you practice breathing in, I'm aware of my body. This is the third exercise recommended by the Buddha in the Sutra on mindful breathing. Breathing in, I'm aware of my body. Mindfulness of the body. You know that your body is there. And while breathing in like that, you bring your mind home to your body. And there you are, alive, present. You might discover that your body also belongs to the kingdom of God. Your body, like that flower, is a wonder. And you can touch the kingdom of God also in your body. You don't have to go far. And in the future, in order to get in touch with the kingdom of God. Mindfulness allowed us to be alive and to touch the wonders of life inside of us and around us. And many of these wonders have the power to heal, to nourish. And you don't have to go to a temple in order to practice mindfulness. Walking from the parking lot to your office, you might enjoy the practice of mindful walking. You might like to enjoy every step. Touching the wonders of life. That is something all of us can do. Years ago, we offered a retreat for congressmen in Washington, D.C. They have a hectic life and they need the practice of mindfulness in order to release the tension, to relax and to be in touch with life. Many years after the retreat,
Hello, everyone. I'm putzing. Good morning. Working on trying to get a little talk by Thai there, Thich Nhat Hanh, which I thought would be a beautiful way for us to begin this morning. I'm now going to just pull up a little quote here if I can find it, and then we'll begin. It's good to see you all. It's so good to practice together. I don't know. I practiced for a lot of years, as I like to say, in my closet, in my closet by myself. And I have to say the inspiration, certainly for the Sangha, was my recognition that no matter how concentrated the mind, no matter how mindful we are, or clear seeing, which is a beautiful, necessary, essential beginning on the path, no matter that, if we didn't come to certain essential understandings about life, about relationship, about the importance of others, the importance of the traditions and the ancestors and the lineage, all that has come before us to support us. If we didn't open to that, however concentrated or absorbed or whatever jhana state you might have accomplished, you would simply be a sniper in life. You might hit the target, but the fact that you didn't know why you were doing it beyond your own benefit would ultimately be deficient. And so today we're going to start talking about the 5 paths identified in the teachings, the 5 paths that actually lead to the 5 powers. And it is understood that without understanding a little bit about the path and recognizing where we are on the path, that the powers could not develop. And that without the development of the powers, the bhumis, the essential ground, the essential fruit is probably the way I would most identify it. The essential fruit of the path would not be clear. And knowing where you are is a very important part of this practice. Knowing how you are this present moment, knowing where you are in relationship to life, to others, to the world, essential, and then knowing actually where you want to go, knowing the directional, which so that we can begin moment by moment to actually point ourselves mindfully, heartfully, with the deepest love and compassion, each moment towards true happiness and freedom. And so we're going to review that a little bit today, going back to Chogyam Trungpa and the bodhisattva path. But remember, these are just words. They're not really the point. The point really is, where am I? How am I right now? And where do I want to go? And then we're going to look at some of the teachings about how we actually might get there. So I thought that would be useful for us today. I did not send out, by the way, chapter 44 yet, because I realized that it was not really going to hold much meaning before we began a conversation. So if you're interested in chapter 44 and 45 on the 5 paths and the 10 bhumis, the beauty of the Buddhist traditions, lots of list making, let me know in chat, because I record the chat as well. And then I'll make sure that you get that within the next day or so. So good morning, everyone. I see you're all joined. I'd like us to read, I'm hoping you can see this. I'm going to check one more time. This is just a little thought by Pema Chodron on the path, on her thoughts about the path and the commitment to it. And so I'll just read that here. This is from When Things Fall Apart, one of my favorite books of all time. When things are shaky and nothing is working, we might realize that we are on the verge of something. We might realize that this is a very vulnerable and tender place. And that tenderness can go either way. We can shut down, feel resentful, collapse, or we can touch in on that throbbing quality and open. We can use everything right when we think things are falling apart. to open to see more clearly both the cause of our distress, which is always ego clinging, wanting something another way for ourselves and our own image or our own benefit, superficial benefit, or we just fall apart. And we've all fallen apart. So it's not with judgment that we recognize this, because we're falling apart in some essential way every single breath, right? Really. The self you thought you were, the self you touched, even in any precious present moment, is merely what? An arising, a phenomenon of gathering of things and ideas for one brief moment. And we're going to be practicing that again today to see if we can't rest back, getting out of the ideas about the self, out of the ideas about how we should be, out of the ideas about how we were or weren't or could be or couldn't be. Also, as we're doing that, by the way, we climb out in the same way out of the ideas of how others are, how they should be, if only they were, why couldn't they be? It's something we look at and notice that we're doing constantly. And it is this very noticing, by the way, that is one of the fruits of mindfulness. This very ability to see not only the experience we're in and claim it, life is like this, it sucks like this, or it's fabulous like this, but actually recognize some of the conditions that are contributing to that, so that we don't get caught or lost in it. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy a beautiful dinner, time with a friend, but it also means that we're careful not to imagine that this is the way that life is always supposed to be for us, that it is always supposed to be in some way comfortable, secure. And in fact, when things fall apart, Pema says consistently, life in the ever-changing ebb and flow, just like the breath, which is why we often use it as the perfect object for coming to see the true nature of this human life, coming and going each moment. We just talked about the reality last week that we were all a little worn out. We were all recognizing the additional challenges that we were feeling, the fact that the COVID conditions have continued and in fact may escalate. Don't know, right? We don't know the next moment, but we have some sense that this is not over yet. There's consequences to the impacts of aging, illness, and death, and we're feeling them all fairly significantly. Some of us have been isolated for a time. Others of us are making big changes in our life as a result of the recognitions. Where we place ourselves in our families, in our lives, is becoming important considerations. How we're living becomes important considerations, and these are all wise. This one damn thing after another is a quote from a line that supposedly Winston Churchill made during World War II. Life is simply one damn thing after another, and don't you notice? Aren't you noticing that? And what we're all noticing is the sense of vulnerability, tenderness that we all are experiencing. And here's another quote by Helen Keller that was pretty striking for me. And I had never heard the whole quote, by the way. Security is mostly a superstition. That's daunting right there. It does not exist in nature, nor do the children of men as a whole experience it. Avoiding danger or life is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing, which is likely a quote you have heard. But avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. Turning towards directly the truth of the present moment is the essential practice. That's that work we're all doing. I'm going to end this share for now. I'm going to check to make sure I'm recording. I'm going to wave, say hello to everyone. Good to see you all. And so let's prepare for sitting. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to put myself back on here. Here we are together wonderfully. And so remember, as we're establishing ourselves, let me clear my throat there. For the practice, we establish ourselves always in two basic ways. And the first way is just establishing the body, sitting here. And so rather than look at me and figure out what I'm doing, which will not be very helpful to you, or look around and see what other people are doing, which is not particularly helpful to you, see if you can find a way that establishes you in the Dharma seat. And what that means is this present moment, exactly as it is, and exactly as you are. You don't need to architect up, get stiff. You don't need to, om. It isn't that those things are bad, but actually it would be my preference that you actually just feel into this body sitting wherever you are. And I see that Andy's in his car. Someone else was in their bedroom. This is no problem. Here I am in my office. But wherever you are, can you begin to incline the mind towards the awareness of this body sitting here, the essential first instruction? Feel the feet, the bend of the knee, and the weight of the body as it rests into the hip. Feeling the uprightness of the spine. And with the next out breath, releasing the shoulders from the ears, letting them fall, letting the arms get heavy, and gathering the hands. Holding your own hand, placing your hands in a grounded position on the legs. Feel what's right for you. And as we enter, once again, the in-breath coming into the front of the body, soften and relax the forehead, the eyes, the jaw, the mouth. Dropping down, opening the throat into the chest, the diaphragm, the belly. And then finding a place to rest the mind so that you can notice the breath. We call that the breathscape, anywhere really between the chest and the hip bones, if that's workable for you. And we do know that the breath itself can be activating for some people with breathing difficulties, with trauma. And so if that's just not right for you, I bow to you. Please find that place in the body where you can incline the mind towards rest, towards present moment awareness. With ease. And kindness, a gentle approach. And that's the body. And then we actually posture or open the heart mind. by remembering as we sit, we remember the truth of this precious human life, accorded to few. We remember the truth of impermanence, that everything is expanding and contracting, pulsing, changing, arriving and passing away, breath by breath. And we commit ourselves to this seat, to stillness, to silence, so that we can first see clearly the truth. Nothing to cling to, no one to cling. And then we set the mind towards the offering of this practice, this precious teaching, the precious Sangha with whom we practice, and this amazing capacity to awaken. With all that has come before, we're resting right in the lineage, right in the tradition. It is holding us right now, whatever else is happening. You have joined the line of those who wish for the end of suffering. May we offer this to all beings everywhere without exception, omitting none, awakening us all. So just taking a few big in and out breaths as you find your way as completely as dedicated, as devoted, as committed a way as you can. To this being wakeful right here. And you notice that the breath drops itself here. There's a little relief in just going, there's nothing else to do. This moment is about being fully present and alive here. That's it. No thought, no idea, no list, no figuring out, no analyzing, evaluating, opinionating can serve you here. So we let it go. And one of the first things that you may notice, it's one of the first things that I notice, is the distance that I have been from myself in the present moment. Because I hadn't felt that shaky tenderness that Shogim talks about, this, I think he uses the word shaky tenderness and queasy tenderness. The truth of being alive, I've been some distance from it until now. We can begin to rest into the present moment with the metronome of the breath, which invites us right here, right to this body, right to this moment, in this very in and out breath. And look at the supports we've already built for ourselves, the truth of the lineage. We've invited in the Sangha, not only the Sangha on this Zoom call, but the Sangha of all beings who have practiced for and with us and are doing so now, as before and will be. We're surrounded by the good intention of present moment awareness, of loving kindness and compassion. What better place to be than this? We have set the heart mind in the direction of being of benefit. Breathe right into it. Keep the mind inclined in this way. May this breath and this one, may I use it to be of benefit. And may I begin by being of benefit to myself, by steadying, calming, and stabilizing my own heart mind. And you'll begin to notice that the commitment, the intention continues, that we must reinvigorate, reignite, and reinvite this intention for resting in the Dharma, resting in the tradition, resting in the present moment again and again. This by itself is a beautiful beginning. And each breath, we are on the path of accumulation. We are gathering momentum, continuing the lineage. One breath at a time. We're living the Dharma just like this. And when the mind wanders, we smile at the recognition and commit ourselves again. We let go of all thoughts as best we can of the past and the future, so that we can be most alive, most awake, most loving, and most present here. We cannot be in two places at once. So commit. Be here. With each out-breath, we release the residue of past and future. We sweep the house, says Rumi, for some new delight, this new breath. Can you actually feel the sensations of breath? The next part of the path is the path of unification. It's actually joining the mind and body so that they are one, not the mind looking down on the body, but mind and body experiencing the breath, completely present. There's nothing to seek or accomplish. Be watchful of the idea that you need to make this happen. This cannot be accomplished. It is actually settled into, rested into, opened into, and allowed. So settle back. Join the breath as completely as you can. Give your whole self to the breath. There's nothing to get rid of. So if you're spending your time trying to not hear the dog, not hear the bird, not have the thought, this is a complete waste of time. And see if you can't shift into being present once again in this very body, this breath opening here. And in this unification, the second of the paths, we begin to feel that sense of wholeness, the presence of awareness. We're not being caught by each passing phenomenon. We're able to direct, attend with some momentum, some energy, a disciplined effort. The paramitas are also being realized here. And what begins to occur without force, without demand, without thinking, is the path of clear seeing. You might call it insight. We begin to see the nature of things without preference or bias, the coming and going of all phenomena, the breath itself, the one who breathes, the sound, the thought, the image, motion, all simply coming and going, temporary, like a lightning bolt, a dewdrop, a flash. So rather than be identified or caught in it, this clear seeing begins to help us recognize, I am not this. This simply comes and goes, whatever this or that might be. We don't cling to the breath or the body. We joyfully, freely let it come and go. Disidentifying, not me, not mine. And you can begin to feel the greater freedom and space available. The mind is not so crowded, the body is relaxed, the heart opening. Gathering momentum, opening awareness with each breath. It becomes easier and easier. The momentum itself moving us from this path of clear seeing into meditation. We see its benefits. We commit ourselves wholeheartedly. There's no force, no scramble. Simply the open, spacious, and calm abiding of awareness itself. We can feel its benefit, and we have a little more nimbleness, a little flexibility. We can begin to open that awareness to include everything, anything. But you do so when it's time. We can open then when you're ready, if that happens for you, beyond the breath. This ever expanding mindfulness to include things like sounds. The passing phenomenon of thoughts being known as thoughts, not cleaving to or rejecting, simply recognizing, allowing, and for right now, letting go. Out of the content of this, it doesn't pleasant or unpleasant nature. We do not claim them and we do not reject them. Simply knowing thought is thought. And coming back into open, spacious awareness, or awareness of the breath if you need that extra guardrail. And from this path of meditation, we are led naturally, effortlessly in its time to the path of prajna, the path of wisdom and compassion. We see clearly the consequence of the grabbing, of the clinging, of the trying to reject. And rather than being lost in the habit, we continue to wake up. Not useful, not necessary. And we come back to the body and breath. We come back to awareness itself. We notice the light of awareness shining brightly in all directions, touching all things. We don't have to force, demand. We simply settle in. There's a moment like this. Letting the light of awareness shine. There is no greater antidote, no better medicine, no more loving act than this. And from this very fifth portion of the path, we rest in faith, we have confidence, we trust, we hold patience, we are naturally generous, and the paramitas simply arise. The skillful means right here. We begin to bear the fruit of the practice right away. There is nothing to wait for. We awaken this moment. And then rejoice and are glad. Whoever got me to the practice today, yippee. We commit ourselves again. May we all be happy. May we all live with ease. May we be free from inner and outer harm. May we have the strength, the perseverance, the patience, and the joyful energy to continue. And may this practice wash away all the sorrows of the world. So just taking a moment and offering yourself a bit of gentle movement, whatever would feel delicious, inviting and opening for you. And if nothing else, the polyvagal theory says turning the head, literally turning it all the way to the left, and rather than working on a stretch, actually seeing all the supports that are available to us. And as I turn to the left, I see an entire altar of supports, and this feels nourishing, encouraging, and invites a safety. And seeing them, recollecting them, maybe even calling them by name. The Bodhi leaf, the Buddha statue, the green agate heart. And then going off into the other direction, doing the same. Looking at all the levels of support all around you, this beautiful plant, and cello. Mirrored image of this room, this refuge. And then shaking, moving the shoulders. Seeing if we can invite an open chest. So here we are, going back to the Bodhisattva Path by Chogyam. We're going to look at 44, chapter 44 today. And as I said earlier, the first thing that is invited and necessary in our understanding is this idea of the 5 paths. And what comes from the 5 paths are also the 5 powers as the result of the path. And we just went through it a little bit. I just gave you some feel, as it may or may not have happened, for this, the development of the path, the energy of the path, the way the path walks you, rather than you pressing onto the path. And that's one of our greatest teachings, I think, is to let life unfold and take its time rather than us pressing in and forcing, which we in the West, right, are very prone to doing. We're also very impatient. We want everything now. And so we're very reluctant to create space and pause. And this is, of course, a part of what we're practicing here right in the meditation practice itself. But so let's look at chapter 44 here. We're going to go through it somewhat quickly. But there's a lot of meat in these next 2 chapters. So this chapter 44 in the Bodhisattva Path by Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, and here's what he has to say. There are 5 paths and 10 bhumis. Bhumis we would not understand as stages, maybe better developments or qualities of being that are naturally cultivated on the path. You can't rush them, you can't demand them. Like a child in its development, you can't push a child from crawling to walking. But in the consistent practice of crawling, they are preparing the conditions in the legs, in the muscles, in the nervous system, in the mind for the next place of standing. And then from standing and balancing to the next place of taking a step, right? And so we think of the bhumis in this exact way. And in the same way, what we understand about the bhumis is that once you learn to walk or balance, you don't unlearn unless there is damage, unless there's an impingement, unless there's an injury, unless some other conditions from the environment occur to impact that walk, let's say, or that step. But you never don't know how to do it. There's a permanence to it, deepened understanding that's not lost. And so the bhumis are understood in this way. Once accomplished, once unfolded, isn't regressed. It's there and permanent, like enlightenment itself. These are the stages, one might say, towards enlightenment. And here's what Chogyam has to say. At each 10 stages of the bhumis, you're loosening up and getting more inspired because there is less bondage of egoic clinging, of it's got to be my way, of aggression, of if I can't get this, screw everybody, I'm quitting. There's less possibility for that to even occur. And in fact, what happens along the path is that we very clearly see again and again how these very thoughts are a contribution to our suffering. However, there's more to the Bodhisattva path than purely being a nice person, than these ideas of being the giving tree, of, Chogyam writes here, being a goody-goody, which I found hilarious and accurate, by the way. I'm a good person, everyone else is messed up. So the 10 bhumis and the stages of the bhumis, as I already have said, they're considered spiritual developments, like human development. Bhumi, actually, the way I have always understood the bhumis is as foundational ground. I have not heard the word earth here, but foundational ground upon which enlightenment, awakening rests. And I love that idea of these foundational elements and aspects, and that once you get one staked, it cannot be undone. You could think of these as qualities of being, of virtues, of attitudes. That would all apply. Then we're going on then to the next page. I love his idea, Chogyam's idea of loosening up, getting out of our own way. We stop believing our own storylines. We catch them, we recognize them better. We're not lost in them. We smile at, well, yeah, there I am thinking it's all about me. But we don't get caught there either. We don't get caught in the judgment. We don't get caught in the confusion. We don't mistake those thoughts for who we really are at all. We just understand it as a part of the human vulnerability. And again, we begin to cultivate qualities that are less aggressive, less clinging, less identifying, and are freer. And as we feel that on the path, we recognize, in fact, that we're in the right place. This is where we needed to be the whole time. And we make larger, more meaningful, more energized commitment to it. The paramitas are completely aligned with the bhumis. The more we recognize the need and the wish to be generous, to share ourselves, to use each moment to be of benefit, to recognize in some way we're growing up, I guess is the word I would say. We're realizing that this is not all about what we can get this life. It's about what we can contribute to it. And we begin to make that switch in some way. We begin to recognize, wait a minute, this is just not about my being validated, my being recognized, my being acknowledged. These are all the words I remember. Thinking a lot about early in relationship, like, what about me? There was not enough to get in that thought, what about me? And in fact, it led to some overwhelming suffering and distress. And the more we look, the more suffering we're actually in. So these paramitas are very much linked to the bhumis. The paramitas are the practice element. The bhumis are the fruit or the results. You don't practice a bhumi. You could say you open into a bhumi, just like you don't practice something. At some point you just recognize, wow, here I am, not really thinking just about me, but also thinking about what I can do to end suffering, to end distress, to end pain, and to contribute both to my own and to others' well-being and welfare. This isn't even about what you get out of the practice. Once again, it's just about, this is simply the thing. It's the right thing. How could I have gone any distance from this? How could I have not seen it? Begins to take on that quality, and it's very simple, as Chogyam says. The 5 paths, here we go. This is both the Hinayana and the Mahayana. Remember, Hinayana is simply establishing the mind in the breath, cultivating qualities of calm abiding, this and recognizing and seeing objects as objects. And this 5 paths includes both of these vehicles, both the Hinayana, it's Theravadan school, and the Mahayana, and the path of the bodhisattva. And so here again, we're going to use these words. Here's the paths: accumulation, just finding our momentum in the breath, in the body, in the being present. Unification, bringing mind and body together, seeing clearly a direct result of bringing mind and body together. The meditation itself, that we commit ourselves consistently, and then eventually continuously on the cushion and off, and then prajna, compassion, wisdom, as its result, the path of no more learning or awakening. There he goes on to say the first two paths are the Hinayana, the last three are the Mahayana. The path of accumulation, I thought one thing worth reporting was the background of egolessness, compassion, and trust provides a starting point and a general motivation. Everyone here has begun practicing for a reason, and that reason had some understanding in it. You either recognize this old way isn't working, you went, I've got to find something else. You went, wait a minute, the few times I did it, there were some positive benefits, whatever, wherever you've come to this early wisdom, we might call it. The path of accumulation will offer this to you. We're usually not 100% consistent here. We fall back, we default into ideas that maybe if I just ate that ice cream, if I just got that boyfriend, if I got a new car, this might work out better. But we're beginning the understanding, and our momentum and our commitment to the practice begins to strengthen. This is called attitude like the earth. Remember that foundational aspect that I talked about, foundational ground. The path of accumulation is this. We have to begin to commit ourselves to regular practice, however, in order to see the benefits, to see the results consistently over and over again. We also recognize sacredness is maybe a big word, the preciousness of the opportunity of having a human life, having a wise brain, having the capacity for awakening. We begin to recognize the three jewels, the possibility for awakening, the truth that the Dharma can be seen, known, and lived, and the beauty and necessity of the Sangha. So I suppose altogether that certainly equals a type of sacredness, preciousness, and we begin to get feel that solid ground of that. I guess that word, solid ground, foundational ground of being, begins to be something that becomes like a North Star, and we begin to point ourselves in accumulation again and again, with repetition, with consistency, growing towards it. You have respect for reality and you do not confuse things. You're beginning to see what's important in the path of accumulation, and you begin to commit yourselves more to the practice. You don't get upset by the comings and goings of things in quite the same way as we used to. We recognize that things are continually expanding and contracting and changing. We see it as a part of the nature of all things, and rather than go into distress, as consistently we begin to rest back in that essential dharmic truth. We become like the earth itself, solid, moving through the four seasons, which I loved. We have an intention like gold. It is pure and solid. I would say that's the point of that, and it grows and becomes even more valuable with time. It never undoes itself. It only grows. And actually, I know that to be true, I have to tell you honestly, whether you're in the practice or not in the practice, or you're showing up for Sangha or you're not showing up for Sangha, it's growing something in you anyway. And I quit practice about 1,000 times, 100,000 maybe. And the practice never failed me. I took a break. I didn't go to the Zen Center. I didn't like Joko. I don't know if I wanted to teach anymore. Whatever those circumstances, they were momentary conditions of suffering. But it wasn't like the practice wasn't there. The practice was always there. The lineage was always there. The path was always there. And I kept finding myself falling back on it. I would say it looked more like that. And the gold of that, it's always right there, pure, precious, and never failing, never leaving us. Wholesome like the moon, the third stage on the path of accumulation, this is all accumulation, is like the full moon, shining brightly, always available. It cultivates qualities of opening and expanding. The moon shines on all things. It offers itself to all things. And I believe this is part of the way of generosity. We begin to just offer ourselves continuously, wholeheartedly. The path of unification, then, by the way, is the next of the 5 paths. It's the second. And we did that practice, didn't we? We brought mind and body together. We unified that. We noticed that we can rest there in the present moment. This is the beginning practice of non-conceptual awareness. We're not thinking about the breath anymore. We're not counting the breaths anymore. We're not making statements about the breath. We're simply resting and abiding in the breath. And that non-conceptualization is essential to the path of mindfulness. Recognizing when we're just in open, spacious awareness, or just when we're in awareness, and when we're going off into thinking. It's a big step. And we get better and better and confuse it less and less. This is the 4 stages. I don't feel like that's essential. He's just saying it grows and develops like something running uphill. Let's say we set the intention, we cultivate the energy, we just keep going. We finally, with effort, arrive. And I noticed the truth of that too. The development of the 5 perceptions. These are the 5 powers that are the result of the 5 paths. Faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration or absorption, and wisdom. And we talked about those a little in the practice itself. These are the natural results. You don't have to go for them. They will be right there as we commit ourselves to the path and to the practice. Life reveals itself on its own. I love that line. Not according to your own preconceived ideas or ego version of things. Life reveals itself on its own. Yes, it does. We can find the way, see the way, if we stay present, wakeful, and attentive. That is all that is needed. The 5 perceptions are based on not just thinking about oneself, but recognizing the truth of this human incarnation, this human condition. And we begin to recognize it not only as our experience or our path, but as the path that is available and open to all beings. The 5 powers are that faith never needs to be sought, energy never needs to be sought, mindfulness never needs to be sought, absorptions, higher states of mindfulness and meditation do not need to be sought, and prajna or knowledge, wisdom, never needs to be sought, that they are always here and available. And if we can commit ourselves to the practice, they will certainly, without fail, be available to us. We cultivate a quality of patience because we know that in time we begin to see things unfold themselves. Wisdom and knowledge unfold itself. Generosity unfolds itself as we commit ourselves to the paths. The higher Dharma, I really invited that today. This is recognizing that you are in a part of the momentum of 2,600 plus years of practice, of prayer, of accumulation of merit, that you are resting in the seat of others who have cultivated and carved this for you throughout time. And when I remember that, I can rest back a little bit more. I also remember that I am as well a part of that path and lineage for others going forward. And it allows for a certain energy and commitment in me to continue, not just for me and the end of my suffering, but for others who have also done it for me. I will do it as well for others. On the path of unification, remember that's the second path. The mind and body become more synchronized. They become independent of the kleshas. I like this line. Awareness itself is not lost. It is not caught in ego clinging. It only is aware. And so whenever you're caught in a conflicting, distressing moment, the fact that you can know you're there is the beginning of actually not being lost in the default mode, in the limbic system. You're actually going, wait a minute, I can feel this distress. I know I am in distress. And it is in the very knowing that you are beginning to end suffering, the very knowing where you are when you are there, lost in the kleshas, lost in the suffering. What does it say here? This change of attitude is based on joining mind and body. It is based on joining the very tranquil and the very active at the same time. Could you feel that in the practice? There is both a calm and a tranquility in it, but we must commit ourselves again and again in order to gather its accumulations and its benefits. We can't just go home once we touch into calm. It's very easy to flip ourselves right over back into distressing thoughts or cycles of I'm not this, they're not that. We don't have what we need kind of thinking. So we have to stay intentioned and attentive. The path of unification links the path. That's all those others who have contributed to us, the present, us continuing on this path, this moment, and all future benefits. Yes, it links them all. We moved then into the path of seeing. This is the beginning of insight, recognition that not only are we practicing for momentary relief, but we're practicing for the cultivation of a quality of being that is unconditional, that doesn't come and go. Even when it feels like in our practice, well, I wasn't calm just a minute ago, now I'm present and calm, oh, there I go again. We can see clearly that there's access to that possibility. There's the path of meditation, which is just the continuation to the path and the commitment, and also moving along on the stages of the jhanas, which are temporary, by the way, not like the bhumis, and ultimately not sufficient, though they are pleasant often, that state of absorption. And the path of no more learning, that path being a moment of enlightenment, the moment where everything that was needed is present, you see it, you bow to it, you rest in it, and you act in accord, critical concepts. You act in accord. It isn't recognition alone. You are acting completely with that confidence from your awareness and the wisdom that is its result. And then we're moving in chapter 45. I'm not going to go into this very much more right now. It's enough for us. But the first bhumi, and what I like is the line right here, what you are doing is real. I thought that was perfect. That this is not a temporary fix. It's not to feel better right now. It's not get me out of the present moment into some other state so that I can at least get a break. The first bhumi is the recognition that this is always available, always present, and is continually growing. I think maybe the second point, continually growing, even when you have no evidence for the truth of it. It's actually happening. We no longer discriminate between the experiential and the intellectual. The whole thing becomes completely one. We begin to recognize that there's no way to separate out the practice from its benefits, from its fruits, from that which will be offered to us versus that which will be offered to others. We begin to understand it as a complete interconnected whole. Each moment, each drop of mindfulness contributing vastly to happiness, to healing, and to well-being. And in this, we take enormous joy, which holds us up to continue to practice. I think I'm going to leave it there for now. Not going to continue with that. I'm going to stop the share. I don't think we need more of that. So what I'd like to know, what might be interesting for you to comment on, to report, to share your experience is, could you feel that accumulation? Could you feel or sense that unification? Could you drop in on the truth of clear seeing? Like, here I am, I'm not lost. I've got this. I'm recognizing thoughts coming and going, emotions arising and passing. But there's these little moments, and they might just be a flash at the beginning, where I'm not lost in being carried away by it. And I actually can clearly see it. And the relief of that and the inspiration for that. Like, yeah, what am I not doing? What's happening that I cannot commit to this in every day for myself. So thoughts about that. I see a chat here. Thank you, Andy. What are your thoughts? What is it? Did you feel the accumulation, the unification, the clear seeing? And did the question come to you? Because it always comes to me. How is it that I imagine that the path and the practice is not worthy of my time and attention? How do I fall off in the middle of life in this way, not remembering these essential truths? So I'll take a sip of my coffee, let somebody come on or chat. What happens that we forget and then don't commit?
Well, I can say something perhaps.
Sure. Hi, Annika.
Hi, how are you this morning?
Mm-hmm.
Hang on, I'll do the camera as well. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So I do feel that the combination of the practice and the combination of talking about being of service and letting go of the ego, that it's making a difference. You know, like somehow it makes the ups and downs and the like obstacles in daily life and whatever, you're not quite as attached to it anymore. But I also feel that even in that thought, there's a bit of a trap where I start thinking of myself as, you know, a goody-goody or enlightened. So I'm also hesitant to say this because I feel like I could go straight into like, well, I'm above all of this, which, you know, is also a
Yes.
tricky thing and probably not that healthy to take that stance. So that was my thought. But yeah, so I almost don't want to think it. Like I feel some of it, but I don't necessarily, I feel a little bit bad about thinking it, you know, that, hey, I'm doing better at this.
Yes. I agree with you. I like what you're saying here. I think the recognizing that there is that egoic part that's even present going, look, I'm getting it. I did it. We do it in the meditation, don't we? You know, like you're scrambled for a couple minutes. You're going, this is hopeless. I can't do this. I don't know who she's talking to. It's not me. My brain's on to breakfast and what happened last night and, you know, how my husband needs to clean the garage. I'm not here at all. And then all of a sudden there's that moment where you go like, oh no, I was just right there. And there's commentary.
And then in the next moment you go, hey, look, I'm a master meditator. I can do this. And it's gone again.
This is a part of the perfect path. And that we can begin to see both is actually the path cultivating us. So we can start to see the crazy mind and we own it. And then we go, nah, I'm not going to claim that one. That's too horrible. And then we see the goodness, right? I used to call that the good witch Glenda, where I thought I was supposed to be for about 100 years. Like, if you really got this together, then you're like Glenda. And then I'd see all the ways I thought I was like Glenda: dangerous, not useful, not skillful, just cultivating arrogance, pride, and ego clinging, just like you're saying perfectly. And then I'd see the bigger moments where I wasn't like Glenda. And that, unfortunately, constructed, again, falsity, a false identity of failed, fucked up. I got nothing to offer this. I should just quit and go home. I should leave the space for somebody else who can do this better than me. I'm just taking up air time over here, which is how I've quit both the path, the practice, and the teachings 100,000 times. None of it was the problem, because all of it was an opportunity for me to see my own weariness, my own fears, my own tenderness, the reality of everything coming and going, and that I didn't have to own any of it. And that there was more freedom, more happiness, more calm when I didn't claim anything. When I didn't take on the "you're just a mess," and when I didn't take on "you've got it going on." That was the path, really. And you're seeing it. You're already saying, this has got a little sticky in it. This could get a little dangerous. You'll fall in several, maybe 1,000 times to going, well, I'm better because I'm not being hateful. Well, I'm better because my group represents blank. Well, I'm better because I practice. And then you'll see perfectly the consequence and the suffering that is its result, because in the very next moment, you won't be any of those things. But the awareness will be there. The possibility of awakening with awareness will be there to see it all, when I think I'm great and when I think I'm crap. And that's the path. And you'll begin to recognize it and smile, like, there I go. I'm just done. Now I'm on the west side. Now I'm on the east side. And you won't buy into the storylines of either. This is what we're always watching for. This is the benefit of continued practice, is the insight to go, no, I'm not climbing into that one either. That looks like a Cadillac, but that's not really a Cadillac. It hijacks you just the same, right? I'm not climbing into that private jet. It looks pretty cool, but once, it just crashes. And eventually, again, I think with a smile, you eventually recognize, just as you're doing already, and go, I don't think I'm going to start thinking about, and I loved Chogyam's line, goody goody. You start thinking, oh, I got something going on special here. And my teacher, Joko, was allergic to the idea that you somehow had something special going on because you were a practitioner. And she, of course, wrote a book called Nothing Special, which was get out of there. It's a dangerous trap. And I think you're also saying that, Annika, beautifully, because there's a moment of pleasantness in it. There's a moment of accomplishment or accumulation. We go like, oh, it's pretty good. I'm good. So thank you. We're all working, I believe, because spiritual bypassing is a very big deal. It's very easy to go, well, I prayed today, makes me good. I thought of another, got it going on. There's me. And right from that thought comes arrogance, pride, ego clinging, and the truth of suffering. So thank you so much. Yes, is what I would say to that. We're all right there. That's nothing just about you. It's like a remembrance, says Jan, an old, comfortable friend that is welcoming. Yes. Then I can feel bad that I'm not as consistent as I'd like. Yes, this is the same falling in and coming back to awareness, falling in, then waking up again and recognizing. I also feel so successful when I get those tiny glimpses. That's right. That's beautiful. And that's the path, to see everything without claim, to recognize everything without judgment, recrimination, aggression. We don't have to push anything away. In fact, it's a dangerous enterprise, I think, to go, not me, not me, not me. I think if we can actually work in a practice way on the opposite, mine too, aggression, mine too, entitlement, mine too, arrogance, mine too, without judgment, we can begin to see what actually is the condition beneath it, which is always what? Fear, pain, insecurity there. That we would need to believe we had to bolster ourselves with these false and substitute lives. This is simply a substitute life. There is no reality in it. And so when we remember that, we're free. We're once again free. I think we're already at 8:30. This will go up today, hopefully. The talking about the path, the 5 paths, I think is a little interesting maybe, but not very useful. I think practicing them and seeing where we are just in each meditation, whether it's 3 minutes, 10 minutes, or 40 minutes, that actually in whatever amount of time you have, the paths are unfolding themselves for you. A good meditation or meditation. That's not the point. A meditation I like and feel calm, a meditation where I feel completely restless, jangled, is no better or worse than the one before. And that we can begin right in the formal practice of making that contact, so that in life, when we fall right in to those defaults going, this shouldn't be happening, this is not good, I am not good, they are not good, we can wake up right there and drop back, wake down into the body, making contact with the present moment awareness once again and beginning again. So thank you all. I'll be sending for chapter 44, 45 to those who let me know they would like that. If you don't need it, don't worry about it. We'll be reviewing chapter 45, the Bhumis, beginning the Bhumis next week. Thank you all. So let's just take a moment once again. Let's come back into presence. Finding the breath in the body. And inviting oneself home. This is the unification, inviting oneself home. We're letting go of ideas. We're letting go of concepts. We're not trying to create new stories. We're not trying to understand anything. We're practicing being our own true nature right now. May we offer the merits, the blessings, and the benefits of this practice today in all practice, throughout the entire tradition and lineage, throughout all time, in all directions. May we gather it here. Breathe it in. And as we breathe it out, send it out in its continuation. May we all be happy. May we all be well. May we all be free from affliction, from harm, from fear and distress. May we all live with ease. And may we all awaken, remembering who we really are, and by its nature, contributing to the end of suffering until we are all free. May this practice today contribute to its being a very good day. So be it. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining. Greg will be teaching 7 a.m. this Thursday. We'll be together again on Saturday morning at 7:30. And we're going to be moving our Monday night practice. We did an 8 p.m. Yesterday. We're going to be moving that practice beginning next week till 7:30. It's getting a little bit late. It's getting dark quicker. People are particularly tired, of course, with many hours of darkness. So we're going to start beginning now for the winter at 7:30 p.m. on Monday nights. I'll look forward to seeing you for one of those times. And please, may this practice be a benefit to continue and expand the practice moment by moment. Blessings to you. Be well, everyone. See you soon.